Thanks for coming to Pitch Day for 100K. It's a great day to pitch. It's always a great day to pitch. Today, we're going to hear from Reed Wade from Lot Swaps and Edward Park from NeuroReserve. We haven't heard from NeuroReserve for a while, so it's good to have you back. And thanks everybody else for coming out to Pitch Day for 100K. And congratulations to those guys, because on average, we screen about 20 companies for everyone that gets to pitch. So they've gone through the gauntlet to get here today, and I appreciate them doing that. StartUpNV is Nevada's nonprofit statewide startup accelerator and incubator. We run 7 nonprofit free programs for entrepreneurs and 4 for-profit investment funds. Government grants and corporate sponsors support our nonprofit. That in the short term, and then over the long term, we're supported by the accelerator companies that pledge a small amount of their equity and in the investors in our investment funds who pledge some of their profit to the nonprofit, so that we don't have to keep going back to government grants over time. Now, we run Pitch Day for 100K fortnightly on Wednesdays, where companies pitch for the Q&A and for entry into our accelerator program. And that comes with an investment from Fund NV, our pre-seed fund. That our investor syndicate usually adds to that $100,000 investment. And then that whole pile of money is matched by our program with the state of Nevada that matches us dollar for dollar for the investments that we put in. Since 2021, our funds have completed 30 transactions in 21 companies, directly investing $9.4 million. And partners like GoEd and others have come alongside us to make that total investment about $30 million. And it's an average of about $500,000 per company directly from us, and another $1.5 million from our partners who usually join us in the investments. That $9.4 million that we've invested, I mentioned just a minute ago, is now worth about $27.3 million. So it's a pretty good track record for having invested only since 2021. Now for the legal disclaimer. The founders pitching today are pitching for investment from our venture funds and our syndicate, both of which comply with SEC and Nevada Certified Investor Standards and Regulations. We invite the whole community to come out to attend and watch the pitches for educational purposes, kind of like going to Shark Tank, but hopefully we're a little nicer. The pitches today are not a general solicitation for investment. Now, our nonprofit work would not be possible without financial help from grants and sponsors. The City of Las Vegas, Clark County, GoEd, the EDA, the USDA are among our top grantors, and we appreciate their support. That's how we roll. So we have, who's going first? Reed, I believe you're going first today. So why don't you share your slides, and we will pass you the microphone figuratively here in a second. There he is. And there's Lot Swaps. So Reed, whenever you're ready, brother, take it away. We are anxious to hear what you have to say.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you everybody for having us. I'm Reed, co-founder and CEO of Lot Swaps. My co-founder, Ben, I think is in the waiting room right now. We'll want him on for the Q&A part. I'm based here in Reno, Nevada. He's out in Sioux City, Iowa, and we're excited to share with you what we're working on. Just want to start with a big thank you to everybody from the StartUpNV team for all of the slide deck feedback. It was incredibly helpful in shaping our messaging and improving it. So really appreciate everybody's time and efforts there. So I'm going to start us off with a big number here, which is that 20% of the 15 million new cars sold in the US each year don't start out with the dealer that sells them. So what that means is instead of going from the factory to a dealer's lot to the consumer, 20% of those vehicles being sold are actually going from the factory to a dealer to another dealer or many dealers till eventually they find their way to the consumer. So as you can imagine, that is not the most efficient process. And the reason that is that consumer vehicle options have grown exponentially. In 1908, you had, Fords, any color the customer wants as long as it's black. Today, you have over 3,400 configurations just for a Silverado 1500 on top of all the other manufacturers, makes, and models that are available to consumers today. But manufacturers really haven't kept up in terms of their inventory allocation with that giant explosion in the options available. So part of that is due to supply chain constraints, which factor into which vehicles get sent where. So we heard a lot about this over COVID when, people were waiting 6 months to a year to get new vehicles. That's just because of those constraints. But there's also misaligned incentives. So think of the relationship between the manufacturer and the dealership, sort of like the relationship between, a farmer and the grocery store. If the farmer sells a bunch of apples to the grocery store and those apples start to go bad, then it's not their problem anymore. Those apples are on the grocery store's books, and it's very similar. As soon as GM sells the inventory to a dealer, it's on the dealer's books now, and it's their problem. If it's not selling, they have to discount it, anything like that. There are also, with the kind of EV revolution right now, a lot of regulations and penalties that misalign manufacturer incentives with on-the-ground demand. So there are 11 states that have signed California's emissions laws. And on top of that, you have all the federal incentives and stuff like that. And so their incentives are not quite aligned with dealers who actually have to go and sell these vehicles, because it's the manufacturers that get penalized if they don't build the right configurations. So what happens? Dealers will buy, sell, and trade vehicles, but today they really only have two solutions. And today they're choosing between inefficient manual outreach and predatory market makers. So option one is they do dealer trades by manually picking up the phone book and calling other dealers. So in the best case, they're going to have an inventory manager, probably make $60,000 to $80,000 a year, whose job is to, really look into what vehicles to get from the factory, what allocations to take, and make trades with other dealerships. The problem is when a inventory manager says, okay, I need an all-wheel drive Tahoe, I'm going to start calling up a ton of dealerships around in the area. 9 times out of 10, those friendly dealerships are going to say, sorry, we need the same vehicles you do. Good luck, right? But 1 in 10 times they get what they need and the trade happens. The other option that they have, if they really want to look nationally, or maybe they don't have a inventory manager that's full-time dedicated to this process, is they can reach out to vehicle locators or vehicle wholesalers, depending on what you want to call them. And these are basically market makers that run off of a lack of price transparency between the dealers. So you say, hey, I need an all-wheel drive Tahoe. The locator will say, great, what would you pay? $2,000 over invoice. I'm now going to spam everybody in my phone book with these ridiculous emails saying, would you pay, 1,000? Would you sell your vehicle for 1,000 over invoice? They'll buy it from that dealer for 1,000, sell it to you for 2,000, and they just make money off that spread. A lot of dealers will use these locators, but nobody likes them. Everybody we've talked to universally is not a fan, but they serve a need. So what is the real solution? A transparent dealer-to-dealer software platform that automates the busy work of price discovery, enables seamless price discovery by simply having dealers put what they would buy and sell their new vehicle inventory at, which is then going to help us optimize inventory management and ultimately expand options for customers. Because when you walk into the store of that dealership, they're going to be able to look instantly at all of the inventory available through our platform, rather than having to say, great, we know you want a vehicle that looks like this, let us call around and see if we can source it for you. So we have a link to our demo for anybody that wants to watch afterwards. It's a little out of date because we're making very fast progress on the product, but you can see it live there. So a little bit about this market. For just new vehicles not used at all in the US, about 15 million sold each year with a $47,000 average sale price. That's data from NADA, which is the biggest kind of dealership lobbying group. That's a $742 billion market right there. About $12.6 billion goes into software and digital lead generation to support that market, which is what we see as our SAM. So a average size dealer is spending around $30,000 a month on software as a service and around $32,000 a month on digital lead generation. And there are around 17,000 franchise car dealers in the United States, which is how we get to that number. We've surveyed everyone that comes onto our platform, and quite a few dealers that haven't, that are still kind of leads. And our data shows that on average, a dealer is doing 216 dealer trades plus locator transactions per year. Those locators have about a 1% take rate on that same average new vehicle sale price. And again, that number of 17,000 franchise dealers gets you a $1.7 billion market that we're going after with our first product suite. So that product suite is really just an end-to-end solution for the dealer trades, from price discovery and finding the vehicles all the way down to the analytics, paperwork, and information that goes through that. So we're really the only solution out there that covers that end to end. So obviously locators are what I've been talking about so far. They're just they do price discovery, but it's manual, it's opaque, and that's because their profit is the spread and relies on that lack of transparency. There is a solution out there that got acquired by JD Power, Superior Integrated Auctions, that is in-group only transparent pricing. So imagine, a large auto group like Lithia might buy this solution to say, hey, we want all of our general managers to trade against each other to move vehicles between stores, and that's at about $400 rooftop per month for that product. But again, they don't go out of those dealer groups. And the largest groups today, Lithia and AutoNation, have about 300 rooftops each. And that's out of that 17,000 dealerships total. So very fragmented and lots of opportunity to expand kind of the market access there. There's solutions, two out there. One smaller company, Swaptimal, that does some of the paperwork automation, trade analytics. That's $200 to $500 a month. And vAuto is a solution by one of the giants in just the general dealership software space, Cox Automotive. That's where you get really expensive into the trade analytics and inventory analytics, where for an average size dealer of around Ben's size, for instance, you're paying around $3,200 a month for that functionality. And we want to take a big bite of this entire category all the way through. And the reason that we're going to win is because our business is going to establish a data flywheel. So dealers are going to pay a software as a service fee for marketplace access in the busy work automation software that we're going to provide. I'll get into probably in the Q&A around why we're not doing a transactional based model and dive into that. But dealers will onboard for the software that they'll pay for monthly. More dealers using that trading software is going to drive marketplace listings in demand. And that is going to generate a unique data set that does not exist anywhere today, which is the wholesale price of a new vehicle from dealer to dealer. So not to think of, you've got the Kelley Blue Book for used vehicles, retail selling to dealers, that sort of thing. But this data set does not exist for new vehicles today. And once we've established that, there's a ton of great software that we're going to be able to build and have a huge advantage on that's of interest not only to the dealerships, but also the banks that finance them and have to underwrite this inventory in addition to the manufacturers themselves. So where are we at? In August, we launched a beta for our trading platform, starting with GM dealers in 5 regions, and we proved out our hypothesis that inventory allocation is far from ideal. So we onboarded 27 dealerships. Currently today on the platform, there's about $3.5 million worth of total listings, and we've moved about $1 million of inventory. And so we've really proven out that, yes, we see a lot of, hey, because of the emission stuff, we see all-wheel drives going, from south to north and vice versa. We also had 2 dealers that knew each other who, as soon as they onboarded, they were in the same industry group, they knew each other. As soon as they onboarded, they transferred over $300,000 worth of inventory, just because, again, that price discovery aspect. If they listed their vehicles, they said, oh my God, you want this? He was like, yes, you get rid of it. And boom, they transacted. So our next phase of growth is going to come from expanding this marketplace and getting the flywheel going there, which we're going to do with founder-led sales, customer referrals, and product-led growth with back office automation software, which is going to provide early revenue and a channel for viral user acquisition, and get more into detail on the plans there in the Q&A. But that's, again, developing that software suite out. So a little bit about us and the team. So Ben is the owner-operator at Kneffler Chevrolet in Sioux City, Iowa. He's worked in franchise GM dealerships for over 17 years and is a serial entrepreneur proven in multiple industries with real estate, car rentals, insurance, and others. And he's also a top dealer with direct access to GM leadership and systems, which has been incredibly valuable as we've gone on this journey and for product discovery.
So thank you very much. I'm going to toss it back to Jeff.
Really, really interesting presentations today. Just a few program notes as we wrap up here. Investors, if you're curious about how to become an investors, reach out to us. We have 4 different opportunities for you to get engaged with us, from experienced folks to novices. We have a pre-seed fund, FundNV, which is the fund that invests in companies like the ones we saw today. Angel NV is a teaching fund that we start every January that ends in March, where we teach a group of investors who want to become angels how to do that and make a real investment at the end of it, of about $200,000 in one company that's matched by the state. So it's a $400,000 investment for the founders who participate. We have 1864, our seed fund, and then we have an investor syndicate of about 300 folks. So if you liked those stats that I gave you up top, where we've invested $9.4 million and turned that so far into $27.4 million, jump on in with us somewhere so you can help some of these awesome founders that we see and also make a little money at it. You can check, we have a whole investor page at startupnv.org where you can find out more. And thanks again to the founders who pitched today. So we'll see you back here on December 4th. to see two more Nevada startups pitching for some money. And then until then, take care of yourself. And if you can, someone else too.